In my previous life, my nephew, Leo, spilled all my paints and scribbled all over my graduation masterpiece. My sister-in-law, Clara Trinh, actually believed he had a talent for painting. She posted the defaced artwork online, and to my astonishment, the video went viral overnight. From then on, Clara was convinced her nephew was a reincarnated Van Gogh, dedicating all her energy to nurturing him into a great artist. When Leo reached his teenage years, Clara still refused to send him to school, declaring that her son was a Van Gogh of our era, and that school would only waste his talent. It took countless pleas and arguments from me before Clara reluctantly agreed to let Leo attend school. But soon after, Leo got into a fight, broke his arm, and could no longer paint. Clara, in her fury, blamed me for everything. She even stabbed me to death with a knife, screaming, "It's all your fault. You wasted my son's talent. Die." When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the very day Leo ruined my painting. "Oh my God, my son truly is a genius." I heard that familiar voice and my eyes snapped open. I had been reborn. I stared in shock at everything before me, the familiar scene of paint scattered everywhere, my unrecognizable ruined graduation piece, and Clara joyfully hugging Leo. I had truly been reborn, back to the exact day my nephew caused chaos in my previous life. On this very day in my past life, while I was busy on the phone, Leo had taken advantage of my distraction to knock over my paints and scribble all over my graduation artwork. When I returned to the room, it was a total mess. Oh my God, my painting. With less than a week until the submission deadline, I was so furious I burst into tears. But Clara, who arrived much later, acted as if nothing was wrong. "Our nephew is so talented. He paints even better than his untalented aunt," she boasted, proudly hugging Leo, taking a picture of the defaced painting and posting it online. Unexpectedly, the painting instantly went viral. 70 million views, millions of likes, and thousands of comments poured in. Viewers, unaware of the full story, continuously praised Leo. "This child is so young but already possesses such artistic talent. He must be nurtured well." Clara went absolutely wild with joy over the video's popularity, especially after reading the netizens' comments. She was convinced that Leo was a reincarnated Van Gogh, destined to become a famous painter. From that day on, Clara embarked on her mission to cultivate her son's artistic potential. She invested a large sum of money, enrolling Leo in 5 art classes, filling his schedule all day long. She even believed that conventional schooling was a waste of time. By the time Leo turned 10, she still refused to send him to school. My mother couldn't stand it and pleaded with me to persuade Clara. I explained to Clara that denying a child an education was against the law. Without knowledge, merely knowing how to paint wouldn't lead to true success. I even cited examples like Leonardo da Vinci and the biography of her beloved Van Gogh to illustrate the importance of intellect. After much persuasion, Clara finally relented and allowed Leo to go to school. But because Clara spoiled him excessively, Leo neglected his studies, hung out with delinquents, dropped out of school, performed poorly, and even got into fights that resulted in a broken arm, making him unable to paint again. When Clara received this news, she didn't blame herself for failing to raise her son properly. Instead, she placed all the blame on me. While I wasn't paying attention, she grabbed a knife and stabbed me to death, screaming repeatedly, "If it wasn't for you, my son wouldn't have turned out this way. Die, just die." Afterward, my brother, Mark, and my mother, wanting to protect Clara and Leo, sided with her. Not only did they not investigate my death, but they also helped Clara dispose of my body. After I died, they seized all my assets, using the money to buy a new house for Mark's family and send Leo to study abroad. This time, having been reborn, I touched my body, feeling everything still intact. The memory of being stabbed to death by Clara was still fresh in my mind, sending shivers down my spine. This time, I wouldn't interfere. I would watch and see how she would turn Leo into a reincarnated Van Gogh. I was about to say something, but Clara cut me off, preventing me from speaking. "Don't say anything more. Whatever you say, I won't believe it. My son is so talented. He truly is a Van Gogh of our era. I won't let you waste his talent." As she spoke, she looked at me warily. Hearing Clara's words, I was startled. She had never said those things in my previous life. It turned out she had been reborn too. With that thought, I remained silent, quietly observing Clara self-destruct. Armed with the experience of her past life, she immediately snapped a photo of Leo's scribbled painting and posted it online. After posting, she stroked Leo's hair, her face full of self-satisfaction. "My little artist, don't worry, you're about to become famous. My darling, this time your mother will never again be misled by villains into wasting your talent. I will definitely nurture you to become a Van Gogh of our era, even more famous than the original, a name enshrined in art history." As Clara spoke, she looked at me with disdain, and I, who was labeled a villain, could only suppress a laugh. As an art professional, I knew better than anyone that Leo's talent was far from exceptional. It was very ordinary. I genuinely wanted to see how someone who had studied art for 7 years but couldn't even draw a round egg could become a Van Gogh. Unwilling to watch their drama unfold any further, I stepped forward and snatched the frame from their hands. "What are you doing? Why are you stealing my son's masterpiece? This is his debut painting. I must hang it on the wall to preserve it carefully. When my son becomes famous, this painting will even be displayed in a museum," Clara declared, lost in her fantasies of Leo's instant rise to fame. "Are you sick? This is my graduation masterpiece. Your son wasted all my paints and ruined my painting, and you dare yell at me?" I glared at Clara, my voice laced with annoyance. "So what? It's just a painting, after all. How stingy. Honestly, with your meager abilities, you'll spend your entire life as a useless art teacher, earning peanuts and achieving nothing. Do you really think you're qualified to compete with my son?" Clara bluntly dismissed me. I knew the reason for her contempt. In the past, to avoid family strife, I had lied, claiming to be just an ordinary high school art teacher earning a mere 3,000 yuan a month. In reality, I was a renowned artist who had held over 10 exhibitions, large and small, and a single private lesson with me cost 50,000 yuan or more. My family had no idea about any of this until after I died, and they discovered the enormous fortune I had left behind. Even then, Clara had scoffed. A 3,000 yuan art teacher could earn this much money. She must have seduced some rich old men. Mark had chimed in. Of course, those old tycoons particularly love artists. Despite their disdain for me, they had no qualms about spending my money. Now, seeing Clara's sour face, a different idea sparked in my mind. "If you want this painting, then pay up. 20,000 yuan and this painting is yours." I held the frame, stating my price plainly. 20,000 yuan? Are you crazy? It's a ruined painting. How could it be worth that much? Clara's eyes widened in disbelief. Expensive? Do you know this is my graduation masterpiece? Both the paints and the paper are mixed with gold leaf, lapis lazuli, and many other precious materials. I've already given you a family discount. Or is it that some people not only despise others' talents, but also can't afford to pay? I deliberately provoked Clara, my face full of mockery. "Who says I don't have money? I'll tell you what, it's just 20,000 yuan. I'll give it to you. But remember this, when my son becomes famous, he'll never bother to help a worthless aunt like you." Clara, enraged by my taunts, quickly transferred 20,000 yuan via Alipay. "You just received 20,000 yuan. All right, here's the money. Now give me the painting, you poor wretch." Upon receiving the payment, I immediately handed her the painting. Clara took it, a smug look on her face. She not only posted it on WeChat to brag, but also went around everywhere, proclaiming that her son was a genius painter. Watching her extravagant behavior, I subtly smirked. "You want to be famous? Let me help you with that." What Clara didn't know was that since college, my best friend, Jenny Chin, and I had managed a social media account. Currently, this account had tens of millions of followers, and the revenue from online content alone was enough for me to live comfortably. Since the account didn't publicly disclose its owners, even if Clara had been reborn, she wouldn't know it belonged to me. Now, I decided to use this account for some special purposes. "You're going to post that asterisk painting on the account immediately? How can you? That's your graduation masterpiece. It's supposed to be showcased in an art exhibition. If you post it now, won't it ruin its value?" Jenny Chin was surprised when she heard my decision. I then explained everything about Leo ruining my painting. "How could that happen? That's absurd. That's a masterpiece you spent 3 months preparing, pouring so much effort into it." As an art professional like me, Jenny understood better than anyone the significance of a painting to an artist, let alone one with such special meaning. But for me now, I no longer felt heartbroken or regretted the ruined artwork. I just wanted to use everything I could to drag that wicked family down to hell. I whispered my plan to Jenny, who immediately understood and got to work. I get it. I'll definitely help you get your revenge. You want to play a popularity game with me? I'll play until the very end. That night, Jenny posted my original painting on our social media account. At the same time, she enlisted many friends to drive traffic to the post. Just like in my previous life, Clara's video quickly went viral. At this moment, she was sprawled on the sofa, her mind dizzy with fantasies of a splendid, wealthy future. Indeed, my son is famous again, as long as I know how to capitalize on this wave of traffic. Combined with his once-in-a-millennium talent, my son's future is immeasurable. By then, the media will interview us, and I will be the mother of Van Gogh. Clara was deep in her reverie when bad news silently struck. No, what's happening? Why is everyone saying my son plagiarized and calling him useless? Unlike my previous life, this time, Jenny's video also quickly gained popularity due to careful traffic generation. Clara's video and ours shared the same audience pool. Those with a bit of art knowledge quickly noticed the striking similarity between the two paintings. Our account, mine and Jenny's, was an officially certified account specializing in art and aesthetic content, with tens of millions of followers, whereas Clara's was just an ordinary personal account. After art experts compared and confirmed the truth, it was quickly revealed. The painting Clara called an original masterpiece was, in fact, merely a product of Leo scribbling over an intricate, complete painting. Many netizens felt deceived and began to mock Clara. This is hilarious. Scribbling on someone else's painting and calling it your own work. Why doesn't she tell her son to scribble on a Van Gogh original? Maybe then he'd be the real Van Gogh. In her son, I see the quintessential image of parents raising a crown prince nowadays. No matter what he does wrong in her eyes, he's perfect. Don't call him a son anymore, call him a crown prince. A little splash of paint and he's Van Gogh. So if a child touches an airplane, do they become a pilot? Some art lovers even expressed regret. As an art professional, I see no talent in this child, only pity for the artist who created the original painting. God knows how much effort they poured into it. Reading these comments, Clara felt shattered. Enraged, she confronted me. What did you do? Why has it come to this? I merely shrugged, spreading my hands in an innocent gesture. I don't know what you're talking about, sis. Didn't I already give you the painting? My innocent demeanor infuriated her. She hastily started a live stream to defend herself. In the live stream, Clara confidently declared, "Hello everyone, I am the mother of the boy who painted this divine masterpiece. I want to confirm that my son completed this painting entirely on his own. There was no plagiarism or destruction of another's work. To some people, I advise them not to be too jealous, because my son's talent is undeniable. Your jealousy won't change anything." Below, some netizens mocked, "Where's the talent? I've looked and can't find it. Are you saying talent is hereditary? Don't tell me it's inherited from you." Clara smugly replied, "That's right, I was excellent at drawing since childhood, always a model student in art class. If my family hadn't been poor, I would have become a renowned painter." At this point, she accidentally mentioned me. Even on my husband's side of the family, there's some decent artistic genes. My sister-in-law, for instance, despite her mediocre talent, still got into the Central Academy of Fine Arts, so it's not like she'd disgrace my son. Upon hearing this, netizens immediately cracked the case. Aha! So her sister-in-law studied at the Central Academy of Fine Arts. Then the painting the Crown Prince scribbled on must have been her graduation masterpiece, right? The unluckiest woman in the world, the Crown Prince's aunt. How can someone be so terrible and shameless? I feel so bad for her. Attacked by netizens, Clara's face turned ashen. One person commented, "If you're so proud of your son's talent, why don't you let him livestream himself drawing a picture? It doesn't have to be intricate, just a simple sketch to prove his ability." Jenny continued to set the trap, encouraging more netizens to support this idea. "My son is tired. Drawing requires inspiration. What right do you mediocre talents have to judge my son?" Clara was pushed into a corner by netizens, her face turning green, only able to stubbornly argue. Jenny calmly and sharply retorted, "If even a simple sketch requires inspiration, then how did your son complete that other painting with such talent?" "I fear it's not talent, but perhaps he was possessed by the ghost of an artist. I recommend you find a good exorcist and also check if your crown prince can speak Dutch or French. Who knows, maybe he truly is Van Gogh reincarnated." Jenny's precise and sarcastic reply made netizens spam 666, meaning awesome or great, and laugh until their stomachs hurt. I lay in bed, almost laughing myself internal injuries, my hands shaking as I texted Jenny. "That was so satisfying. You're incredible." What was happening was actually a carefully laid plan by Jenny and me. I knew beforehand that Clara would never admit her son was useless. As she used one lie after another to justify herself, sinking deeper into the trap she built, the moment Leo couldn't prove his talent would be the moment she faced the cruel truth. As expected, despite her inner fear, Clara, flushed red, agreed to livestream to prove her son was a modern Van Gogh and defend her lies. "Livestream then, livestream. I'll show everyone my son is the best." She scheduled the livestream for noon the next day, at 12 p.m., for Leo to draw live and demonstrate his exceptional talent. But as soon as she ended the livestream, she rushed to find me. "You draw a sketch for my son beforehand. Then, during the livestream, he just needs to fill in a few lines, and I'll adjust the camera angle to conceal it." She ordered me with an obvious, smug air that, even after living a lifetime, still astonished me with her shamelessness. I laughed coldly inside but outwardly pretended to be obedient. "Of course, Clara. I'd be happy to help with this small matter." Hearing my agreement, she nodded in satisfaction, secretly gloating, *few, "This girl is still as easy to manipulate as in the last life." I clearly heard her thoughts but still pretended not to know. "What did you say, Clara? I didn't hear anything." Clara was caught off guard, her face instantly changed, and she quickly covered up. "Nothing. If your drawing isn't good and ruins my son's future, I won't forgive you." My professional smile remained as I replied, "Of course. For my one and only nephew, I'll definitely do my best." After Clara left, I watched her retreating back, my eyes cold. "I will do my best to help you." The next day, exactly at the appointed time, the live stream began. Clara appeared excited, telling the viewers, "Hello, everyone. Today I will let my son, my precious darling, directly demonstrate his innate talent for all of you. Son, don't worry, just draw something simple." Outwardly excited, she whispered into Leo's ear, "Remember to follow Mom's instructions. Just fill in a few lines according to the sketch." Leo obediently nodded, awkwardly picked up the brush, and began to draw on the paper in front of the camera. Despite his slow and uncoordinated movements, he managed to produce a crude drawing. Some netizens began to change their minds. "It's not bad. For such a young child to draw this on his own, it's pretty good. We shouldn't be too harsh. Doing this much is quite decent." These comments delighted Clara, her tail practically wagging. "I told you, you people are just jealous of my son's talent." But her joy didn't last long, as an unexpected incident occurred. Leo suddenly threw down his brush and began to scratch the paper with the brush head as if searching for something. This sudden change panicked Clara. "Good boy, let's play after you finish drawing." But Leo completely ignored her, continuing his strange search. In his confusion, he tore open the white paper on the easel, revealing the sketch I had prepared underneath. The live stream immediately exploded. "What is this? Openly cheating." I knew it. The way this child held the brush was too strange. He's definitely tracing a template. As an art professional, the brushwork in this painting is identical to the previous one. The artist is definitely the same person, and it must be the sister-in-law. Clara, exposed, was furious, her face turning green. She was about to argue that it was just a misunderstanding, when in front of the camera, Leo suddenly bent down and licked the painting. Clara rushed over, snatched the painting away, and smelling the sweet fragrance on it, couldn't control herself. She turned and verbally attacked me. "Alice Ha, you did this on purpose, didn't you?" "Of course I did it on purpose. Last night I specially chose the most fragrant paints and deliberately mixed honey into them." I gave an innocent smile. "How could you think that, Clara? Didn't you tell me to find a way to make Leo sit down and paint? Now you're blaming me?" My words immediately exposed Clara's true colors. No matter how she tried to explain, she couldn't salvage the situation. Just then, a famous artist, Professor Lee, happened to drop into the live stream. After glancing at Leo's painting, he frankly commented, "This child has absolutely no artistic flair whatsoever." Clara was so enraged that she hastily ended the livestream. Afterward, she burst into my room, yelling furiously, "Alice Ha, you did this on purpose, didn't you? I knew it. You want to ruin my son's talent. This time, I won't let you succeed. My son definitely has talent. He will become a great artist. He will be a Van Gogh." I pretended to be bewildered, scratching my head. "What are you talking about, Clara? What past life? This life? Are you reading too many novels?" Clara looked at me suspiciously, then gave a cold laugh. "You don't need to understand. You're just a useless wretch anyway. I won't give you another chance to waste my son's talent." After the livestream incident, instead of giving up, Clara became even more determined. Just like in my previous life, she continued to enroll Leo in numerous art classes, but this time, the classes were far more expensive. When Mark and my mother came up from the countryside and saw the tuition bill amounting to 158,000 yuan, Mark nearly went insane. "Clara Trinh, are you crazy? What did you spend all this money on?" My mother was equally anxious, pulling me aside to ask, "Did your sister-in-law get scammed by some pyramid scheme?" Before I could say anything, Clara screamed, "A little money and you complain? Your family is so stingy. My son is an artistic genius, so what if I spend a bit of money? I'm telling you, sooner or later, my son will become a Van Gogh." Seeing Clara's frantic state, Mark and my mother could only exchange speechless glances, almost thinking she had gone mad. Seeing their confusion, I kindly explained everything that had happened in the past few days. After learning that it was all an investment in her grandson, my mother and Mark's expressions eased slightly. However, my mother, who had lived frugally her entire life, still felt unbearable pain at the thought of spending hundreds of thousands of yuan. She advised Clara, "I studied art, you know. I can teach Leo to draw. There's no need to waste this money." In my previous life, my mother had made the same calculation, forcing me to teach Leo without paying a single cent, using morality to bind me. Ultimately, when Leo didn't do well, all the blame fell on me, saying I had wasted his talent and ruined him. I was about to find a way to refuse, but Clara immediately objected. "What can she teach, mother? That useless girl is just a freeloader. Letting her teach my son would be like killing his talent in the cradle. I absolutely won't agree." I quickly chimed in, "That's right, mother. Leo is so talented. How dare I, a mere student, presume to teach him? Besides, the tuition fees have already been paid." Although displeased, Mark and my mother had no other choice but to let Clara have her way. Despite outwardly agreeing, my mother continued to ask me privately, "Are those classes effective? Can the teachers really teach Leo well?" Looking at her anxious and worried expression, I couldn't help but inwardly sneer, remembering what my mother had said when my teacher discovered my artistic talent. "What's the point of drawing? What good will it do her? It's good enough if she finishes junior high. Girls shouldn't have pipe dreams, just grow up and get married." Those words had once plunged my life into darkness, leaving me unable to find a single ray of light. It was my teacher who had adamantly helped me, not only paying for my education but also meticulously guiding me every step of the way. She had no children, so she treated me like her own daughter. But in my mother's eyes, my teacher's actions held a different meaning. She had once said, "Your teacher is old, with no wife or children. You should be clever and find a way to seduce him into marrying you. When he dies, his money will all be yours. Don't let him spend all those years on you for nothing." Hearing those words, I was completely numb. I couldn't believe a mother could say such things to her daughter, and the reason she did was simply to make me use my body to earn money to subsidize my brother. Now, when it was Leo's turn to paint, it became a brilliant path to success. Seeing I said nothing, my mother put on a benevolent face, took my hand, and gently advised, "Alice, your brother doesn't earn money easily, and Leo's at an age where he needs money. You don't spend much anyway, so why don't you give your salary card to Clara to hold from now on?" Once again, she was targeting my money. I gently pulled my hand away from hers, smiling, "Mother, of course. But I need to repaint my graduation piece, and with the airfare to school, I'm still short 10,000 yuan. What do you think?" As soon as she heard I needed money, my mother's expression immediately changed. She pushed me away and yelled, "No money. How could I have given birth to such a useless thing like you? You're nothing but a burden. What's the point of raising you this big? I should have strangled you when you were little." From then on, my mother no longer pretended to be a kind mother in front of me. She avoided me whenever she saw me, fearing I would open my mouth to ask for money again. After 2 days of art classes, Clara received a few compliments from the mediocre art teacher and immediately became smug. At dinner, she brazenly announced her intention to kick me out of the house to use my room as an art studio for Leo. A grown girl still shamelessly living in her birth mother's house. Have some decency and get out now. Don't stand in the way of my son's future. Mark also chimed in. That's right, Alice. You can't just stay at my house forever. It's not right at all. My mother just kept her head down, silent. In truth, I desperately wanted to leave this place. With my talent and money, staying here another day would only make me a target for their exploitation. But outwardly, I pretended to be hurt, weeping, and criticizing them. The more I cried, the more smug Clara became, because in her eyes, this was her victory. Ultimately, I was forced out of the house, packing my belongings and leaving in disgrace. Before I left, Clara looked at me with smug satisfaction. A homeless dog like you will only live a more miserable life than in your past. Meanwhile, my son will achieve brilliant success, and you won't gain anything from it. Leaving the house, I immediately bought a plane ticket to Beijing. At the studio, I worked for 3 days without sleep, finally completing a graduation painting that, while not perfect, was acceptable. My professor praised it endlessly. I shyly told him I had only painted it in 3 days, but he patted my shoulder sympathetically. Jenny has already told me about your family situation, my dear. It's a pity, but it's also good to escape such a family. Away from family constraints, you'll have a new life. My professor had no children and treated his students like his own. He gently said, if you ever face difficulties, just tell me. Hearing his words, I couldn't help but cry choked up. Yes, only by escaping those constraints could I truly live a new life. Why hadn't I realized this sooner in my previous life? My new graduation piece was titled Life and Death. Many who saw it said they felt a sense of rebirth, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, and I felt it too. Afterward, I stayed in Beijing, cutting off all contact with my family. 10 years passed. I became a renowned artist, bought a house, a car, and had a stable life. One day, my phone rang. It was a rare call from my hometown. Alice, come back quickly and talk to Clara. She's gone mad. She won't let Leo go to school, won't let him go out, won't let him make friends. She forces him to practice drawing all day. I think Leo is going crazy. From my mother's words, I knew that this time, Clara was even more fanatical than in my previous life, trying at all costs to turn Leo into a genius. But under her oppression, a teenager was developing serious psychological problems. You don't know, one day I went to the bathroom and saw Leo stabbing the wall with a knife, muttering, "Die, die." I can't bear to look at him anymore. In my previous life, around this time, my mother also couldn't stand it and had me persuade Clara. But she played the good guy, saying she fully supported Clara's parenting methods, while Mark didn't care at all, leaving me as the only villain in the family. This time, I had no intention of getting involved, but I still returned to my hometown for a visit. As soon as she saw me, my mother grabbed my hand as if I were a lifeline. Alice, quickly talk to Clara. How can Leo become a proper person if he doesn't study? I pretended to agree. That's right, Clara. No matter what, you have to let Leo go to school. Hearing a sentence identical to my past life, Clara immediately flared up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. No one is to say anything. In this life, I will definitely not let my son leave me again. She gritted her teeth. After saying that, she turned to me with eyes full of hatred. Alice Ha, I won't let you destroy my son. During my 2-day stay, I noticed Clara was constantly wary of me, not letting me near Leo, fearing I would mess up her genius training plan. On the day I left, they finally revealed their disgusting true colors. My mother held my luggage, Mark blocked the door, and Clara, holding Leo, shamelessly demanded money. My nephew is an excellent painter. I've told you already, he's extremely talented. Now he needs to be sent abroad for a special training course, which costs 500,000 yuan. You're his aunt and you're here, so you should contribute. Clara spoke as if bestowing a favor, without a shred of shame. 500,000 yuan for a master's training course. In my previous life, I already knew about this. It was just that back then, Clara had followed my advice and sent Leo to a regular school instead of this particular course. So she was completely unaware of the truth behind this so-called master's training course. I subtly smirked. Sorry, I don't have any money. Clara wasn't convinced, questioning me. Impossible, you clearly have a lot of money. I knew she was thinking of the assets they had seized after my death in the previous life. My mother and Mark also refused to believe I had no money. Alice, don't be so stingy. You've been working outside for so many years. How could you not have money? That's right, Leo is your nephew, not an outsider. Seeing their disbelief, I decisively opened my phone and showed them a debt page, clearly displaying that I owed over 3 million yuan. Oh my God, how can you owe so much money? What are we going to do now? My mother immediately panicked. Mark and Clara's faces also turned pale. I slowly explained, in Beijing, I pooled money to start a business with someone else, but I was scammed and had to borrow at high interest rates. Now the interest is piling up. Mother, Mark, Clara, this time I came back to hide from my creditors. I'm begging all of you to let me stay here. Otherwise, I'll die. Before I could finish, Mark angrily yelled, Get out! Get out now! I don't have a sister like you. Mother quickly cut ties with her. If the creditors come looking for her here, we'll all be ruined. Clara was still half believing, half doubting. Just then her phone rang. It was an unknown number. After she answered, a hoarse man's voice came through. Hello, are you Alice Ha's sister-in-law? I'm her creditor. Tell her to pay up or I'll break everyone in your family's legs. Hearing this, Clara's face turned ashen. She immediately hung up and kicked me out of the house. You jinx! Get out now, don't implicate my son. As I wished, this time I successfully cut ties with this family. Of course, the debt images and the fake creditor call were all arranged by me beforehand. Because she wanted her son to become a famous artist, Clara eventually sold their house to raise 500,000 yuan, investing a small fortune into Leo's future. Later, when Leo becomes famous, one of his paintings will be worth millions. We don't need to regret this old house. But her delusions were quickly shattered by cruel reality. That 500,000 yuan didn't lead Leo to happiness, but pushed him into an abyss. Just 3 days after he left, the family lost contact with him. Initially, Clara still comforted Mark and my mother, saying it was a closed training course designed to build children's willpower. But gradually, they realized something was wrong. More than a month had passed, and they couldn't contact Leo. The person who introduced the course and the master had also vanished. Their phone numbers no longer existed. At this point, the whole family panicked. My mother sobbed as she called me. Alice, it's terrible. That master, he's a scammer. The police said we're the 5th victims. They said Leo was tricked and taken to Southeast Asia, and now his fate is unknown. What should we do? We only have one grandson. Over the phone, I could also hear Mark and Clara arguing. According to my mother, ever since the incident, they argued every day, even fighting. Your brother beat that woman until she bled all over, broke both her teeth. Serves her right. If it wasn't for her, your nephew wouldn't have gotten into this trouble. After Leo's disappearance, Clara's status in the household plummeted. Mark beat her no less than 5 times. Her body was covered in injuries, and her mind became deranged. She constantly mumbled to herself, No, I was reborn. I changed my and my son's destiny. All this misfortune is because of Alice Ha. Why? Later, the police apprehended the scamming syndicate. Clara, driven mad, rushed to ask about Leo's whereabouts but only received a cold reply. Your son is dead. His blood was drained and his organs were harvested for sale. Clara screamed. No, you're lying. My son is Van Gogh. He's a genius. He can't die like that. Upon hearing the news, she completely lost her mind, unable to accept the truth that her own hands had pushed her son to his death. What was even more horrifying was the human trafficking gang's confession. They usually didn't kill immediately, but trained the kidnapped children to beg for money or sent them to casinos or other dens of iniquity. However, Leo, having been controlled by Clara for too long, lost his self-control. Not only did he suffer from mental illness, but he also refused to speak to strangers. In a fit of rage, he picked up a knife and killed someone. Enraged, the human trafficker decided to take Leo to an organ harvesting facility where he was brutally murdered. In this trafficking case, although other victims suffered injuries, some with lifelong sequelae, at least they survived. Only Leo lost his life. Upon learning this, Mark and my mother began to hate Clara. You evil woman, if it wasn't for you, my son wouldn't have died such a tragic death. This family is so unlucky to have married someone like you. Beat her to death, beat her to death. Already deranged after the shock, Clara was locked in the bathroom, tormented and verbally abused incessantly every day, only given leftover food. Mark began to stay out overnight and have an affair. He not only spent the remaining money from selling the house on his mistress, but also brought her home, openly being intimate in front of Clara. Witnessing this, Clara's mind completely collapsed. When my mother brought her food, Clara used a foot grinding stone to bludgeon my mother to death on the spot. Then, she ran into the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and stabbed both Mark and his mistress to death. When I received the news, Mark, my mother, and the mistress were all tragically dead. Ms. Ha, please be careful. The suspect is still at large. We suspect she is looking for you. The police have coordinated with Beijing to track her down, but you still need to be vigilant. The police's suspicion was not wrong. Clara truly came looking for me. That night, as I opened my door, she lunged from the darkness, pinning me to the ground. Her eyes bloodshot, clutching a knife, she frantically screamed, "Die, die, it's all your fault. My son didn't deserve this fate. If I just kill all of you, I can restart my life. I will raise my son to be a genius." Facing a scene identical to my previous life, I felt no fear. Perhaps after dying in my last life, I had rehearsed this scene hundreds of times in my nightmares. I firmly gripped her knife-wielding hand, swiftly dodged, and used the martial arts I had long practiced to create distance. When she lunged again, I pulled the stun baton from my bag. The stun baton sent her crashing to the ground. I immediately called the police, bringing the murderer to justice. In court, she smiled coldly and said, "So what if you caught me? I have a mental illness, I won't be executed. You won't get your revenge, and if I die, all of you must be buried with him. I killed one life for one life, a fair trade." Seeing her smug expression, I chuckled and slowly said, "Why would I need revenge? They're dead. I'm happier than anyone else. I'm very satisfied with this outcome." She cried out in astonishment, "What did you say?" I stepped closer, looking at her coldly. "Do you think you're the only one who's been reborn?" Hearing this, Clara's eyes widened in shock. She gripped the prison bars tightly. You were reborn too. It's all your fault. You killed my son, you harmed him, I'll kill you." I subtly curved my lips into a smile. "Wake up, Clara Trinh. Whether in your previous life or this one, your son's death and misfortune were not caused by anyone else, but by your own doing." She screamed, "No, you're lying. I loved him more than anyone in the world. I'm his mother. I would never harm him. Everything I did was for him." She clutched her head, screaming in anguish, unable to accept the truth. I shook my head, delivering my final words. "You're right, you won't die, but the death penalty isn't the heaviest punishment for you. The rest of your life will be spent in agony in a mental institution." I turned and walked away, leaving her screams echoing in the cell. "Alice Ha, come back here, I'll kill you. I'll be reborn again. I'll save my son. He's a genius, he's Van Gogh. He can't die like that." The police confirmed she suffered from severe mental illness and violent tendencies. She was sent to the strictest mental hospital for lifelong confinement, never to be free, and I finally escaped the shadow of my previous life. Without a parasitic family, my life flourished. I inherited my professor's legacy, becoming one of the most influential artists in modern art history, my name forever enshrined in the annals of art.